Hi, I'm Amy McGuffin, CEO of Kittitas County Chamber of Commerce, and we are hitting the road to see one of our local chamber members. Thank you for joining us again. My name is Amy McGuffin. I'm the CEO of Kittitas County Chamber of Commerce, and you're joining us today on our video series, Chamber on the Road. We're here at the beautiful home of Jennifer Hackett, owner and operator of Washington Hometown. Thank you for joining me, Jennifer.
Thank you, Amy.
How have you been?
I've been good. It's been a really weird year, but we're handling it.
It has been. Well, first and foremost, thank you for being a chamber member. We've been with each other as far as partnerships for quite some time.
Right, about 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
Working with Kittitas County is where we really started our project.
Yeah, so it's fascinating to come today and interview you. So give a background or a history of your company, and then let's pivot to what you're doing nowadays and where your company is.
So Washington Hometown was created to address the issue of recreation opportunities. When I moved to Washington State in 2004, I knew there were lots of great places to get outside, but it was very hard to find them. Somebody gave me a book of hikes in eastern Washington, and the very first hike I went on, we get the kids to the trailhead and there's a no trespassing sign. And this is of course very common in eastern Washington, where a lot of very popular hikes are actually on private property. Never knew what pass was required. I would think I want a hike that I can take my kids to that has a lake, but that's not how the information was presented. So when I got into mapping, doing a resource management master's at Central, I was fascinated with all the information that was out there, but how it wasn't in a way that you could tell a story. So working with the Kittitas County Chamber, we started to develop a set for Kittitas County, and we pulled together all of the information about all of the recreation in Kittitas County into a single place where we could do maps, because we don't just have Forest Service, we have WDFW and WDNR, we have Suncadia and Puget Sound, we have the cities and the counties and the port districts. And once again, when people want to go recreate, they want to know where they can go hiking, not where they can go hiking in the national forest specifically. And so we pulled that together and started to create print maps for the chamber and interactive web maps. And over time I realized that this was really relevant to the entire state. And so I used the experience that I had developed building a data set for Kittitas County, and we expanded it out statewide. So we now have information on over 17,000 recreation opportunities in the state. Everything from national parks to the smallest pocket park, trailheads and trails, and everything. We capture common information about what activities are allowed, what passes required, what facilities and amenities. So you can do things like say, I want to know where I can take my ATV, or I want to know where I can take my mountain bike. Well, those two things overlap, but they're not exactly the same. So we use that information to create a series of maps and apps that we call Discover WA. These are targeted to different interests and different activities. We have the general Discover WA that has all summer. We have a winter WA, and then we do them for hiking and horseback riding, for dogs, for boating. And each map pulls from this common data set, but to tell the very distinct story. We also have 3 apps. We have Snowmobile WA, which we've had out for just over 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then this summer we released OHV WA and Discover WA. So Discover WA, once again, everything in OHV WA oriented towards the needs of the users. The apps are nice because they allow you the opportunity to actually download regions for offline navigation, because as we're all very aware, having to rely on an internet connection is not the best idea when you're going out into the backcountry anywhere in this state. So that's kind of what we're doing. But tell these stories and work with local communities to pull in information and tell a very local story at a statewide level.
I like to point out to those that are watching us today, you have taken every faction that a hiker or a biker or an outdoor recreationist tends to ask when they're making their plans of their visit. And I think that was a huge part of our partnership, was asking those questions. Is there going to be a bathroom? Is this a groomed trail, a non-groomed trail? So I think those information that they can provide from a community or anybody that has gone to these trails, it was very helpful for us when we were creating that. So I really enjoyed your expansion to the statewide because obviously we have the vast ground in the state of Washington, but you saw the opportunity in other communities that needed some mapping or some detailed information.
Right, and well, by going statewide, it actually helps bring people into Kittitas County, because people in King County, you know, they often don't actually realize that the state extends past the crest of the Cascades, and so they'll go and they'll park at the Mount Si Trailhead, mile from the Mount Si Trailhead, and then walk up a crowded trail. And so if they can see on our maps, they get to the Mount Si Trailhead and they see there's a ton of cars, and they look at our map and they can see, oh, look at all these other trails and trailheads that aren't really that far away, and encourage them to come over. And then we add in local businesses, so we're working, businesses can pay a modest fee to be on the maps. And that way the idea is to get people into our communities, but also to get them to stay and to get them to spend money, to get them to know that if you've gone hiking in the Tiana Way, or if you've come out to go hunting in the Clackamas, there are great places to stay, there are great restaurants to eat at, there's wineries and brew pubs where you can finish your day here instead of driving all the way back over the mountains.
Yeah, absolutely. And so taking those interactive pieces, I just want to take us to a subset activity that you did with us, which was the barn quilt trails. One of the things that you were able to do was customize an itinerary, or what we would call region areas, that specifically spelled out what they were going to see. So again, like a self-guided tour, if they only had a 15-minute time frame, they could choose to go to this complete different section, but then they could come back when they had more time. And so talk a little bit about your ability to customize to community efforts.
Right, and so one of the neat things about the data set is once you have the data, it's very, very easy to tell different stories. So we could take the barn quilts, we map them, their points of interest, we could go in and identify the regions and very easily create maps. And then as the quilts change, we've had quilts that were taken down and we've had quilts that are added. So when we have changes, we don't have to recreate the map. All we have to do is change the data in the background, and then we open up the map and it has the latest data. The other neat thing with the barn quilts is that we can integrate that information into the other map. So if you go to our Discover WA map, you can actually see the points of interest. And we can create custom maps. So we just finished updating, for example, the winter recreation and the biking maps for the chamber. And so these are maps that we had done earlier. The chamber knew what it wanted to say, it knew what it wanted to highlight. So we have all the data, and we can easily create a map that shows exactly that. We're also doing an itinerary series where we're working with different groups, and we did the chamber last week, where the groups provide us a list of places that make a weekend experience, maybe with some descriptions and some photos, and we can take those and basically tag out in our database, these are the 15 places we're going to talk about, and we can create a printable map. We can tag them so that you can filter on the interactive maps and just highlight the itinerary. And we can also provide people links into the individual places. And so we've got printable maps, we've got web maps, we've got it in access in the apps, we've got all of these different ways to interact and to tell a single story. And those custom maps are really cool because you could have a very specific story that you want to tell for Kittitas County, and we can tell that without the incredible amount of time that it would take if we had to start from getting the data. We start with the data, and then you just tell us what story you want.
So a lot of good information here with Jennifer Hackett, owner of Washington Hometown. If you haven't gone to her website, go ahead and tell the viewers what your website is.
So we have two websites. WashingtonHometown.com is more oriented to the business side, so it talks about what we're doing. That's also where we're putting up our itineraries and our blog posts. And then we have a site, MapsWA.com, that's oriented towards the recreation user. And on MapsWA.com, you just get a very easy access directly into the maps. We're also in the final stages of implementing the ability to do trip reports. And so when you go to our updated map, hopefully early in November, you'll be able to sort through the different targets, but also filter for what you're looking for. And you'll be able to put comments in and read comments. And we think this is going to be huge because, for example, you get to a snowmobile trailhead, a snow park, and the snow is crappy or the snow is wonderful. You can post and you can tell that, and then you can see what other people have posted. But because we have over 17,000 places that we have information on, trying to figure out how to be able to have comment threads for each of those 17,000 places have required some pretty major updates and changes.
So this is amazing to have such a resource like this here in Kittitas County, but serving the state and probably beyond one of these days, or if you're not already doing that.
That's our goal.
Yeah, so Jennifer, I appreciate you coming or allowing us to come to your beautiful home. And we're going to go ahead and sign off on this interview. So thank you very much for doing so. And if you would like, go to our Facebook page, Kittitas County Chamber, and watch all the rest of the videos along with Jennifer's video. Thank you for watching Chamber on the Road. We especially thank our sponsors, Yakima Federal, Kelleher Motor Company, and Evergreen Home Loan.